I didn't study it at all before my mission. In fact, I was like, everyone kind of expects to get called to like a Spanish speaking mission or something like that. But Italian is not a language that a lot of people learn, you know? But I didn't feel like it took too long to learn the language. And I think the thing that helped me out the most is like at the beginning of my mission when I didn't know the language at all, I didn't really let it hold me back. I just talked to everyone regardless. I know they have a lot of like young adults there in Italy, which is in every ward you go to, there's at least a group of young adults, and they kind of become your best friends because they always hang out with the missionaries and help them out and stuff like that. So in my first area, I felt comfortable talking to them even though I didn't know the language. I would pick words that I knew and pick like phrases that I knew and just kind of roll with those words, and that's how I'd communicate, you know. And then like eventually I'd learn the language. I'd pick up more and more phrases and expand my vocabulary. And I feel like that's the way to do it, is just don't let anything hold you back. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Members are patient with you, especially young adults. They're patient with you learning the language. People in the street, not so much. They'll call you out on your mistakes, and they'll call you out for being American and for not knowing the language. But I mean, it's a language that you can master in 2 years. You can, at the end of your mission, you can speak like an Italian. I think one of the biggest compliments I got was, because everyone knows like I'm American because I don't look like an Italian, you know. But at the end of my mission, people started asking like, "Hey, are you Swiss?" Which was like a big compliment, because it's like, oh sweet, I don't sound like an American anymore. I sound like Swiss people who speak Italian, you know? And I really think it's just talking to people. Talking to people, you pick up on just the different inflections that they use, the different accents, and you start to talk not like an American who speaks Italian, but like someone who's lived in Italy. And it's great.
For missionaries learning Italian, they need to keep in mind there's always a harder language. If you feel like Italian is hard, then look at some Russian or look at a different language, and then you'll be very grateful that you've been called to Italy. Italian is beautiful not only in what it sounds like, but you pronounce everything. Everything you see written, you pronounce. So it's not like French, the secret language that you skip this, but you don't skip this. Everything in Italian is pronounced, and there are a lot of rules to the language that you can, when you learn, you know, it's not guesswork. It's not guesswork. So Italian is, if you have to learn a language, Italian is a very good one to learn. So a lot of new missionaries, so in past tense, Italian has basically 3 main types of verbs, and there are ERE, IRE, and ARE verbs, and in the past tense they follow this pattern. And IRE verbs in the past tense change to ITO, and to suffer is soffrire, and so automatically they would think soffrire, past tense, soffrito. So when they say Jesus Christ suffered for our sins, they'll say Gesù Cristo ha soffrito per i nostri peccati, which means Jesus Christ deep fried for our sins. So to suffer in the past tense, it follows a different, like, unique pattern, but a lot of missionaries learn it the hard way to say that correctly. So sometimes that has raised some eyebrows. Usually the companion speaks better than whoever makes that mistake, so they'll correct to then get a few laughs. But yeah.
I was already studying Italian at school before I got my call. So like learning it wasn't as hard as like anyone else. But when it comes to learning a language, like no matter what language it is, like you should always make sure that you're practicing it. Like whether you're reading or listening or speaking, all these types of things are language study. Do your best to study the grammar principles. There's a lot of grammar principles in English, like in Italian, but at the same time, like I feel like it's really simple to understand. And the better you are at being grammatically correct, the better the better people will understand you, because they know you don't speak Italian fluently. They know you're not Italian, so they kind of have that. Like they are already forgiving you for your language right then and there. And the Spirit helps you as well. Like sometimes you have like you can barely speak a word to your companion, but then you enter a lesson and all of a sudden you're like speaking like it's your second language, because it really is. But it's just something that you just need to trust that you do know the language. You don't know the language, but you really do. And as long as you make sure you remember that you actually do know this language, then like, and just like make sure you keep studying it and keep practicing it to make sure you keep that language so you do get better, then you'll always be able to communicate your message. For me, that was the most important part, like being able to communicate what I wanted to say, as opposed to like I want to be at university level. I just wanted to be understood and be able to communicate what they needed to hear, because they don't necessarily, these people that don't know anything about the gospel, they don't need to know in big words. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you meet like intellectuals that really want to have that supremacy in language, but they won't be able to understand the message that you're teaching if you don't use simple words. Preach My Gospel actually does say like you should be able to teach it, like you should be able to teach your message so that a child can understand you. So I would literally honestly practice on your kid brother or the equivalent thereof, even though they can't understand Italian. But like practice even in English teaching the message to primary kids, and if they can understand what you're saying, then all you have to do after that is translate, which can be a daunting task, but you just trust that it's possible, because like if a kid can understand it, then an adult is going to understand it, and the simpler the message is, the easier it will be for the Spirit to sneak in and like attack their heart and like just create that awesome conversion moment.